Let's look at the solutions for the 2019 examination paper. Question 1.1. You are required to write code to change the font size of the label to 20 points. Calculate the amount due for the pizzas and display the amount due. So if we look at the solution for question 1.1, to change the label font size, we use the property .font.size and set that to 20. We get the pizza value from the spin.value property. Price is a constant, and that is multiplied by the number of pizzas. And the amount is then displayed, that is formatted to 2 decimal places using float to string F, 5 characters in total with 2 after the decimal point. Question 1.2, you were given a triangle, a right angle triangle, and you had to use the theorem of Pythagoras. You had to assign the value 4 to the variable of side A, extract the length of side B from the edit box, and calculate the length of side C. You'll see that A is assigned the value 4, B, the value is obtained from the edit box, and C, using Pythagoras, is squaring A, squaring B, getting a total, and once that total is obtained, finding the square root, and then displaying the square root to 1 decimal place. The question does ask to format to 1 decimal place. Let's look at question 1.3. In question 1.3, generate and assign a random number in the range 1 to 100, and you are required to find the lowest number and store it in a variable called iLowest. In this case, generating a random number, we use random range. Recall that in order to use random range, you have to import this in the math class. We use a value 1 more than the value that is required. Since the range is from 1 to 100, we start at 1 and we stop at 101. The random value is then displayed in the rich edit. To check if this value is lower, the variable iLowest is already declared, and you check if the value that you've obtained randomly is less than lowest, and if it's less than the value that you currently have in the variable lowest, take that and replace it in lowest, and thereafter display what the lowest value is. So when this button is pressed multiple times, it constantly gets a random value and tests it against the lowest value that was stored in iLowest. Also keep in mind, according to the question, that the variable iLowest was originally initialized to the value 100. Let's look at question 1.4. In question 1.4, an encrypted string entered by the user must be decrypted and displayed. The encrypted string contains digits, as some of the alphabet characters in the string have been replaced with digits according to the table below. In other words, we have this encrypted string, and as part of the encrypted string, there are some digits. In this case, there's a digit 8 and a digit 4. The digit 8 corresponds with a letter. In this case, 8 corresponds with the letter I. So the letter I needs to replace the 8, and the 4 needs to be replaced with the letter E. That's how the encrypted string is decrypted using that methodology. Let's look to see how to write the code for that example. So the encrypted string is input using an input box. You enter the encrypted string. The length of the string is obtained, and we're going to use the for loop technique where we're going to check each character in the string. We're going to go character by character using the for loop, treating the string like an array. And as the loop counter changes, we're going to be looking at different characters in the string. So we find the length, run the loop from 1 to the length of the string, and each time we're looking for a digit. So we create a range for our digits, and since these are characters, we treat the digits as characters, and the range is from 0 to 9. We're making use of the ASCII table, and in the ASCII table, we know that 0 is represented by the ASCII value 48. You can refer to an ASCII table to find these values. So 0 is represented by 48. We also know that the letter A in the ASCII table is represented by 65. So if we look at moving from the number 0 to the letter A, there is a difference of 17. So if you're given a particular character, like in the form of a number, like 0, and to change that to a letter A, you add 17 to that ASCII value, which then gives you the ASCII value for the corresponding letter. And if that ASCII value is then changed into a character, it will give you the character A. How do we go about doing something like that? Fortunately, we have two predefined functions, one to give us the ASCII value, that's called odd, and the second one changes the ASCII value into a character. So in the first instance, if the encrypted, if the position of the encrypted character is a digit, we find the ASCII value for that particular character. We find the ASCII value using odd. Once we got the ASCII value, we add 17 to it. The 17 is obtained because that's the difference between the digit to the letter. We add 17 to it. That's still in a number form as an ordinal value. And you'll notice that num is declared of type integer. So that is in a number form. If I take that number and convert it into a character, that will then give me the letter. And once I have the correct letter, I take that letter and put that over the number in the encrypted string at position I. We were checking position I where we found the digit, and the character is replaced at that same position. So as the loop continues and I moves to the next character, to the next number, for example, 2, we check position 2. If it is a digit, we then replace it. If it's not, the condition is skipped and we move back up to the loop. I becomes 3, we check the third character, and this loop just continues. Every time it does find a digit, it does the conversion. At the end of the loop, all the digits would have been replaced with letters. And finally, the decrypted string is then displayed. That being the last question, I hope this helps.